Hello and welcome, Exiles. Got a special video today because it involves starting Righteous Fire basically as soon as you get the gem, and after testing it, it's honestly pretty good. It's a little bit awkward because you have to press the flask still, but in terms of actual uptime on your flasks and being able to consistently sustain Righteous Fire without barely anything in terms of investment on the tree, I am a level 19 character, it's pretty solid, and I'll walk you through it. It's a simple concept, really. We are getting this jewel. This is a quest reward from doing the golden hand job quest in Act 2. You have to go to the crypt, you have to get the golden hand, and then you give it to like Yena, and she will give you a quest reward for 3 jewels, and one of them will be Survival Secrets. Survival Secrets has the unique effect of making your flask charges gain charges if they're inactive. This is really good for things like mana and life flasks, things that you press reactively, things that aren't active, but when you need health, you press them and they are used quickly and then they're back to inactive sort of thing. It's good flask sustain for that. It's almost like Pathfinder flask sustain, with the downside of it doesn't operate or doesn't return the flask charges while the flask is being used. It comes with a little bit of a downside of reduced effective flasks, so our flasks aren't quite as good, but for the uptime on flasks we get, it makes it very, very solid. So, why is this so good? Early on, Righteous Fire, you don't have much in terms of passives for sustain. For my Trickster character, or just a Shadow now because I haven't even ascended, all I have is this one dot cluster which gives about 2% regen and 10% less damage taken over time. If you're something like an Inquisitor start, you're going to get regen from Sanctity, you're going to be able to go over to this dot cluster here and get regen, and there's some other regen spots like Hardy. If you, I don't know how Pox is setting up his starting tree, but if you end up near Hardy, these nodes are really good. Max Fire, as there's other situations where you get some good regen early on, and then of course on Inquisitor, you're going to be able to get Conk Ground in your first lab, which is also some nice regen. Now, specifically, how does this work? It's pretty simple. I turn on Righteous Fire, I degen life, and then I press my life flask, and all of a sudden I'm actually regenerating life. And every time you get to full, the life flask will deactivate, you will start regenerating or start degenerating again, and then you press your life flask. You'll see when I press the bigger life flask, we go up very quick. So I think it's good to have a mixture of basically life flasks that aren't quite as good as sustain and better life flasks, so that way you still get consistent uptime of being able to sustain your life pool with flasks. Now, the way this works is we'll basically just be walking through the zones, monsters will be dying from this degen, and we'll be sustaining via flasks. If you start timing this out better and you think about when you're pressing these flasks, you'll see that we get actually a fairly large amount of time where I can just keep, stalling this out, keep pressing the life flasks as time goes on, and we regen more life flasks here and there, here and there, here and there. And if we start getting scared that a monster's going to kill us, that's when you press the big flask and you go back up to full, and then you can kind of sustain it around that almost full, pseudo full section. And you'll see we can do this for quite a while. It's not going to be perfect permanent uptime, but if you're running through a zone, you're going to have more than enough time to have permanent upstain through the zone. And as you're going to be killing monsters, those monsters are going to be giving you flash charges back. So you're going to mostly have basically effectively permanent uptime on these flasks. Not only that, it's also going to give you good uptime on your Quicksilver and on your mana flasks, because normally those things you wouldn't have good flash charge generation on. You'll see pretty soon here I'll bottom out on charges, or I'll get close to it. And once you do finally run out of charges, I'm just going to let it die down here. Once you do run out of charges, Righteous Fire won't kill you. It takes you to 1 life, and then it deactivates itself. So when this happens, you can basically pop up to full, maybe let your life flasks get back to full, start killing things with Scorching Ray, start killing things with your other skills, and then once you have a good set of life flask charges back, then start Righteous Fire again and start going. Why would you do this? That's probably what you're thinking right now. And it's for a good reason. Righteous Fire deals a hell of a lot of damage in early acts and the early game. It means you kill monsters so much faster. Let me give you a quick little example. It's going to be via the tooltip. Now I have Scorching Ray here with Arcane Surge support and Advocacy. It's a 3-link Scorching Ray. If I press this and I get Scorching Ray up, the DPS says 71 damage per second for my Scorching Ray. If you do the math for 8 stacks of Scorching Ray, it's 71, and then it's plus 60% for each additional stack. That's roughly about another 4 stacks. You get up to maybe 300 to 400 damage per second if you've stacked the damage fully on an enemy. And without full cast speed or any cast speed investment, I don't even think we can get to 8 stacks consistently. And then you look at something like Righteous Fire, which is a level 1 gem with no links on it. And how much damage does it deal per second? It deals 508. Basically on a character that has no life gear, nothing whatsoever. This is already dealing more damage than our multi-link Scorching Ray. And it doesn't require us to stack, 8 stacks on an enemy to be dealing its highest amount of damage. You're going to be walking, and enemies that try to come into you are just going to die to Righteous Fire. It's very good early damage. Not only that, but it also gives the benefit of 20% more damage, which is basically an additional link of damage to all your skills. So this is a very strong early boost to damage and boost to clear. It's going to make the character harder to play. So that's the thing. That's the trade-off you're making. Harder to play, but a lot more damage. Now, another thing I want to go over is you cannot just equip the jewel and have these passives. You need to also cap your fire res. Lucky for this is it's not a hard thing to do. All you need to do is throughout the game, if you drop an iron ring, pick it up and keep it, or later on, you can just buy iron rings for about 3 wisdom scrolls from Act 1 vendor or Act 2 vendor, and then buy steel skin from the Act 1 vendor, or just another red gem that costs 1 scroll of wisdom from the Act 1 vendor. And all you have to do is you have to go over to a vendor, and the vendor recipe is 1 red gem and 1 iron ring, and that will give you a ruby ring. Now, ideally, you probably need to get 2 ruby rings with decent fire res. 20 might be a little too low. You maybe want to shoot for above 25. That's okay. Don't worry. You can kind of work around this. Say you buy multiple steel skins. You can swap in this steel skin, take out this steel skin, and all of a sudden, it's a 30 fire res ring. That's like, bam, okay, we rerolled the ring. We didn't have to have a bless orb, and we got a ring that's going to help us cap our fire res much, much better. I don't know if this is the case or not because I'm in regular Sentinel League, but I believe the first tier of fire resistance you get automatically, and it's a level 12 craft. So I think moral of the story is if you get to 60 fire res from your 2 rings or 55 fire res from your 2 rings, all you need to do is get 1 transmute orb to craft that on one of your rings, which is what I have here, and that will cap you on your fire res. Also, if any of the gear you ID while leveling has a little bit of fire res, that will cap you as well. So those are the main things you need to sustain Righteous Fire. Now let me give you a little detour, or a little showcase of what it looks like if you have Righteous Fire versus no Righteous Fire while you're going through a zone. In the early game, if I was going to walk around here and I was going to be just killing things without Righteous Fire, it would look something like this. It's not like particularly fast at killing things, I would say. This is a bestiary rare, so it's a little bit more tanky and stuff. But if I were to go ahead and just turn on Righteous Fire, you can see these monsters are dying near instantaneously. If they're monsters that want to charge in to hit me, they're going to die to Righteous Fire. Whereas previously, I'd be Scorching Ray and they'd still get a hit in, right? Now, walking with Righteous Fire, things are just dying. And of course, I can still... It's not like a huge micromanagement, but I do have to pay attention to it a little bit, right? I can react. If I react late, it's not the end of the world. And these monsters aren't going to be hitting you every second. Like, they're not going to just completely obliterate you if you're not paying attention perfectly. But it still is something you have to pay attention to. Like, right now, I've got to 30 life or 30% life or whatever. And, we kill a few monsters. We get that life back up. I must have life gain on kill or something. Oh, my word. That is so for the first time in my life, I have thought Blood Siphon is a cool node to have. Unironically, 10 life gain on kill at this low level is actually somewhat impactful because that's like 3% life per kill or something from my current character. Weirdly enough, I didn't realize that. So as we're running through and as we're killing monsters, we're actually getting life back. I don't have a life flask on right now, which is so funny to me. Okay, so anyways, okay, that's cool. I didn't even realize that was going to be a thing. But you can see what I mean. Point is, you put on Righteous Fire. At this low level, you can 100% sustain it with all you need is capped fire res and survival secrets and 3 life flasks. Of course, as you go through the acts, I do recommend you upgrade your life flasks. Every time there's a new tier of life flask, you want to upgrade to that because eventually you'll see how much greater life flask does in terms of sustain. It does 360, whereas grand is 640. So obviously, as you get a higher life pool, the total degen per second Righteous Fire is going to cause you will be higher and higher and higher as you level up. So you want to keep upgrading your flasks each time you get to a new act, etc., etc. And this will allow you to run Righteous Fire from a very early level, and it's impactful. because obviously I haven't been paying attention to what I'm doing, and I've still been killing monsters. I guess I almost killed that rare right there. Finished him off with Scorching Ray. I don't know how to say this, but I wasn't sure how well this test would work. I knew I did this previously, but I forgot kind of how good it was. And this has gotten me excited about the new league because I want to equip Righteous Fire at level 19 and be popping off. So the one downside we have, if we start with Shadow, we can't get Righteous Fire from the vendor. So the case for getting Righteous Fire is you might have to wait till about level 30 when you do the Siosic quest in Act 3. Or if you have a friend that's leveling as a Templar, a Witch, or like a couple other ascendancies, they also get Righteous Fire in the vendor. So you just say, hey friend, can you hook me up? I am wanting to play Righteous Fire, and I would like to have that skill, right? This is what it looks like doing a Oak. And if I just hold down and we start DPSing them, honestly, I'm pretty happy with that DPS for an Oak in Act 2 with our potato gear. That is a 1-link Righteous Fire and a 3-link Scorching Ray, and then we have Flame Wall that Flame Dash as other skills. We'll probably end up just not using these. Get a shield charge into the build and just start zooming while we go. So that is the video on how to start Righteous Fire from basically level 19, 18. Frankly, you can get it started at level 16. The only real requirement here is doing the crypt for the Golden Hand quest reward for survival secrets, and that will allow you to sustain Righteous Fire, which is 3 life flasks. You have a mana flask for your Scorching Ray or for whatever skill you're using, and you have a Quicksilver. Frankly, if I wasn't even leveling or I wasn't even playing a Righteous Fire build, I would probably include this in just whatever spellcaster build I was playing, because it's 20% more damage, and even though you might not necessarily have something spec'd at this early level, it's still going to kill monsters as you walk around. So I don't know. I think it's a cool tech, and I would recommend it. And this is going to mean for the Trickster Leaguestart, we actually will be... Previously, I had stated that I was going to recommend starting with Heartstopper for your first lab. But actually, now that I know we're going to be able to sustain Righteous Fire consistently without any ascendancies, I'm actually going to end up recommending one step ahead, because this will allow you to have Freeze, Chill Immunity will move 10% faster, and that way we'll get to the second lab for Polymath even faster, start doing some damage, and we'll probably do Heartstopper as our third lab, and Swift Killer as our fourth. And by that time, we'll have some regen gear, and we can start putting Blood Rage into the build, and that way we'll get, you know, some DPS while mapping, and it'll pop off. So this is the Leaguestart plan. I'm going to readjust the trees for specifically the labs going for one step ahead first. I've updated my notes just a little bit for some of the early stuff. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy League starting Righteous Fire. If you're not doing Trickster, if you're doing Elementalist, if you're doing Inquisitor, whatever it is, I hope you guys enjoy it. And I will see you guys on Leaguestart. Take care, Exiles.